Hey guys, Paolo here from Athletic IQ. Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to set up your macros. Okay, so let's get some basic knowledge out of the way. The first thing you need to understand and have a concept of is energy balance, which is basically calories in versus calories out. You hear it all the time. If you consume more calories than you burn, you're in a surplus, and therefore you'll gain. If you consume less calories than you burn, you're in a deficit, and therefore you'll lose. It's pretty straightforward. The next thing you need to understand are macronutrients, or macros, basically protein, carbs, and fat. All macros are measured in grams, and they have a calorie value. Now, even though some macros have the same calorie value, they're utilized differently by the body in different ways, and therefore they burn at different rates. Now, it's important to note that no matter what your goal is, as a human being, you have a daily requirement of nutrients to meet. That's macronutrients and micronutrients. And depending on your goal, it pays to meet that daily requirement. Now let's talk common sense. The bulk of your diet needs to be from whole foods. That is, 80% of your diet should come from meats, fish, poultry, veggies, or whole grains. Then you've got to have some flexibility in there just to keep sane. So about 10 to 20% of your calorie intake can be from whatever you like. As long as you meet your macronutrients and the total calories are equated, you'll be fine. Alright, now it's time to get into the meat and potatoes of it. Step 1, set your calories. So you need to work out how many calories you need to be consuming on a daily basis. You do this by working out your maintenance calories and then deciding what to do from there. If you plan to lose weight, then you can go into a calorie deficit and choose whether you're going to use a small, moderate, or large deficit. A small deficit would be around 10 to 15% below maintenance. A moderate deficit is around 20 to 25% below maintenance, and a large deficit would be greater than that, sitting at 25 or more percent below your maintenance calories. I personally don't recommend going into a large deficit unless you were at the beginning stages of your diet and you had a lot of weight to lose. Conversely, if you're trying to gain muscle mass, I would actually be more conservative and hold around maintenance or a very conservative surplus and wait for adaptation to occur. So in other words, what you've got to do is stay at maintenance, keep training, build some muscle, and then increase from there. So how do you work out your calorie maintenance? Well, it's simple. Download a calorie tracking app like My Macros Plus and go from there. Simply track what you're already eating on a regular basis. Don't make any changes to your diet, just track what you eat normally. That's the first step. Do that consistently for about 5 days to 2 weeks, and that'll give you the averages that you need to work out your current protein, carbs, and fat intake. Then, from there, you choose a formula to help you work out your calculated maintenance. There's around 4 that I'm aware of that are floating around. My advice, keep it simple. Remember, the end goal here is to be awesome at changing your body, not to be the world's best mathematician. The formula I use to estimate maintenance calories is very simple. For anyone in a sedentary lifestyle, that means someone who doesn't move very much, I would use 26 to 30 calories per kilo of body weight. For anyone involved in light activity, someone who trains a couple of times a week, somewhere in between 31 and 37 calories per kilo of body weight. Now, if you move around a lot and you're involved in rigorous activity, so in other words, if your NEAT is high, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and you train really hard and you train often, I would suggest somewhere in between 38 and 40 calories per kilo of body weight. Now, for the genetic freaks, and the ones who train really heavy, really hard, train for hours, and all their life is pretty much dedicated to training, especially if they have a high amount of muscle mass, I could go even higher than that, probably at around 41 to 50 calories per kilo of body weight. Keep in mind, they're usually big powerlifters or big bodybuilders that do that. It's time for step 2. Set your protein targets. If you're an off-season athlete or you're involved in general sports, you can get away with a slightly lower protein intake provided your calorie intake is half decent, and you would be eating somewhere in the vicinity of 1.2 to 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight as a protein target. Now, if you're a bodybuilder or a powerlifter and you were at the beginning of a prep, you would need a higher protein intake, and that would increase as your calories would drop down. Somewhere in between the vicinity of 1.6 to 2.6 grams per kilo of body weight will do in the beginning, and then it could go right up to about 3.1 times your body weight as you get further into a deficit. Now multiply that target by 4 to give you the calorie value of your protein target. So now that we've worked out how much we're consuming in protein, let's go to step 3. Set your fats. To work out your fats, it's really quite simple. About 20 to 30% of your total calorie intake should be dedicated to consuming fats. All you need to do is work out 20 to 30% of your total calories, and that will give you the number of calories you need to dedicate towards consuming fats. Then divide that number by 9 to give you the grams of fats that you need to consume on a daily basis. So now that you've worked out your protein consumption and your fat requirement, it's time to work out your carbs. That's step 4. To work that out, combine the total calories from protein and fats and subtract that from your total calories for the day. The remainder will be dedicated towards carbs. So add protein and fats and subtract that amount from your total calories. That'll give you the calorie value, and then divide that by 4. And you'll work out how many grams of carbs you can consume per day. Okay, we're on to step 5, the last step. Really simple. Set your fiber target. Now, it's important to note that your fiber should be consumed as part of your carb target. In other words, a portion of your carbs should be fibrous carbs. For that, it's really not complicated. I use a simple calculation of 10 to 15 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories consumed, give or take 5 grams. Really simple, and it's easy to work out. So there you have it. You've just worked out your calories and your macros as a starting point. If you have any questions, shoot us a message or comment on the post, and we'll help you out as much as we can. I really hope that helps you better manage your nutrition. Looking forward to talking to you again soon.